Welcome everyone to the Nurse Innovator Demo Day. Thank you so much for attending, all who are in person and who are virtually connecting. Thank you so much to our guest panelist, this Dr. Mike Garcia from the Mike Loyos Center. We have Dr. Crawford from the Human Simulation Lab in Texas Tech, and Dr. Stephanie Woods from the Hunt Nursing School. Okay. Now, the Nurse Innovator Accelator, from the bench to the bedside, it's, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay, there it is. So the Nurse Innovator program, our aim is to help nurses and healthcare professionals to leverage their knowledge and experience gained from their day-to-day practice to generate innovative solutions. We we put in high value their day-to-day problem-solving skills, and we want to catapult their abilities to transform those solutions into actual products and businesses. So what we do is we have different components throughout this accelerator. We first teach about design thinking structures to help them solve their problems, their issues in a structured way. We are talking about complex issues that have several ramifications. So a good structure for nurses is like the foundation of everything. We put the healthcare professionals' experience and knowledge at the forefront of the solution process. And we do a heavy emphasis on prototyping first, on building first, so that this can move along quicker, faster as a lean startup methodology to move quick, learn fast, adapt to the needs of the user. That's what Nurse Innovator does. With that, it makes it ideal for healthcare professionals, since coming from their knowledge, their experience on healthcare, we complement their skills with innovation, product development, business development, expertise. With that, they can take these solutions into actual impactful products. It also makes it ideal for leaders that are seeking to generate the problem-solving mindset on their teams. This could be from a corporate or an academic institution. Again, this complements the healthcare expertise that professionals have. This has the problem solving. Also for distribution teams, this is a completely online platform, bi-national. So we are able to help teams that work remotely or that are from Mexico, from the US. So this gives us a wide range in which we can impact healthcare professionals. So the program elements, we have an online platform with over 6 hours of self-paced learning. These are videos that cover from prototyping to business development, from IP to legal to design thinking, and all of this is inside a platform that they can work through it at their own pace. From the beginning, we understood that nurses, healthcare professionals, they are busy like everyone else. So being able to self-manage their learning process was one of the key components from the beginning of designing this program. The curriculum covers design thinking structure. It covers business development principles, and also a heavy emphasis on prototyping. We have working sessions, weekly working sessions, and one-on-ones. These working sessions are to go through the material. Even though it's self-paced, we do need a constant Q&A, constant working through the problems, and also collaborating between the participants. And with weekly one-on-ones, we develop a development plan for each individual solution that keeps us on track on developing low fidelity prototypes, business model, business planning, and such. We have innovation, entrepreneurship, healthcare, and product development expertise within the staff. We have the support of several talented professionals that help develop the curriculum, help coaching each of the participants. And also, as a result, we don't just want the knowledge. We don't want them just to learn something. We want them to actually build a business model, build a prototype, something to show for it. So that's what Nurse Innovator is in a nutshell up until now. What comes next is that each one of the participants will have a continual support throughout the rest of the year. This program started in July with everyone starting from zero to hero right now. And we will continue giving them support through the Innovation Center, though it's more of an individualized, optional progress that we're gonna continue to have. This first cohort was our pilot program. It was generously funded by the Workers Lab. And from this, we will gather lessons learned and enhance the following cohorts. And our main goal for the next year is to be accredited as CEU providers, which would help us gain access to nursing associations, to healthcare institutions, and such. So that's what the plan for Nurse Innovator comes. Now, what everyone can do, what we ask from the community is, our vision is to help nurses transform their workplace, their work environment for themselves, for their patients. And that way, we want to empower nurses everywhere to be able to generate these solutions. If you could help us support nurses everywhere, being evangelists of this program, sharing this program with everyone. Also, we're always looking for mentors. We're always looking for ways to support our participants. And funding is a great component, since everything we do is not for profit. We are depend on funding from the community, from other institutions to get this program ongoing. And with that, we would like to thank the Innovation Center. The MCA would like to thank so much the Workers Lab for funding this initial cohort, this initial plan program. Fab Lab Juarez, which Pablo and Leticia from Fab Lab Juarez, Kathy and Michael for the great support from Fab Lab El Paso, Eric Pavian, our entrepreneur in-house, and Ernesto Olguin, our registered nurse mentor. And with that, if you would like more information, you could always reach out to Nancy Lowry from the Innovation Center, or to me, Alberto Ponce. You could visit our website at MCA/innovation/Nurse Innovator. And applications are already open for the next cohort. More information is coming early in the year, next year. But you can start. We are ready to start getting this to the next level. Okay. And with that, I would like to present our first participant who's gonna pitch today, Danielromo.
Good evening, everyone. So while Alberto shares my screen, and we keep going, I'll just introduce myself very quickly. I see a lot of familiar faces. My name is Danielromo, and I am the workforce coordinator here at the MCA. My responsibilities lay in creating outreach opportunities for those in the K-12 education pipeline. Specifically, I work a lot with middle school students. So we create STEM camps, outreach resources for them to have more access of what life sciences really is. So I'm here to present STEM Kids. And I would like to preface this with I'm not a nurse, but I was really lucky enough to be part of this program and get mentorship, which is awesome. There you go. So the real problem here is that our STEM workforce is at a crisis. You know, they say that we don't have enough people to get all the jobs that we want in STEM. You know, we have the epidemiologists, the medical scientists, the chemists, the researchers that no one really knew about until COVID hit. But then we have all these jobs that nobody, again, knows about and kids don't know about, and we want to get them informed about that. So how do we do that? We do so by creating strategies first. So I know by working with kids and by doing some research is that a lot of these students who are impacted early in age, specifically in the middle school area, are a lot more attracted to the STEM, so the life sciences workforce. So hopefully hitting them young at that 6th to 8th grade, so 10 to like 14 age range, will be a lot more influence to go into the life sciences, even if that means becoming a physician, a nurse, a researcher, an entrepreneur, an innovator, anything of that sort. So how are we going to do this is by creating something called the STEM Kids. So these are really just kind of our digital prototype, but we do have an in-person prototype that we created in partnership with Fab Lab. So it's these boxes that you can see here. And we're going to create 4 different boxes with 4 different themes, hitting different areas of life sciences. Specifically, the one that I have here available for y'all to look at right now is based off of engineering concepts. So students are going to get this challenge, and they're going to be asked to create some sort of structure. In this case, we're going to create a structure. COVID could be a kind of a traveling medical facility, or this one's going to be shelters for homeless populations. So really the challenges kind of can get adapted to the situation we have at hand, specifically to today's problems. So each box or kit will include a couple different things. So if you're going to get something like this, or teachers or students, we get a very simple box that was etched out, but inside we're going to get a manual, which will have different things, which I'll show you right now. And they're going to have this part. So this is going to be structures. So here are some of the things that they can make, or something that was made here with a model. And they have this challenge to create it, and they have to have certain restrictions, certain specifications, and then after that, they're going to have certain science objectives they're going to have to hit. So with that comes our manual. So our manual is pretty simple, but it's just a couple of pages of how to do these things, ideas on how to do them, but also kind of my favorite part of this is science objectives. We get a lot of science, or at least a lot of students who go to class and say, when am I ever going to use this? When is Pythagorean theorem ever going to come into my life ever again? Or when is the periodic table ever going to come into my life? Well, here, this is where they're going to learn all of that. And then if we keep going, another big part of this is careers. So one of the huge part of my job specifically is to be able to link the science that these kids are teaching or being taught in school to careers in the future that they weren't made aware of. So this is kind of where that came through. And then in these careers, they have regional statistics. So education needed, average salary of the region, and average growth. So I know for right now, they may say, well, this job may not exist right now, but in the next 10 years, it might have a 20% growth. So that's kind of where that comes from. Not only will these STEM kits really teach these kids about science concepts, about life science, about how to really apply things that they've learned in school, but also they'll teach them more opportunities on how to kind of grow as a person professionally. So how to work in a team, how to think outside the box, how to think critically. So all these small little aspects that will really make a difference by the time they're in high school, college, in a professional level. There you go. So why do I think this is going to succeed? I actually think that students are really eager to learn. We just have to give them options, especially hands-on activities. You can read a textbook until you're blue in the face, but you won't really appreciate it until you're doing it hands-on. So in 2019, we started off these STEM camps as a part of an initiative. I've hosted over 400 students now, one-day STEM camp where kids come in and they learn everything about life sciences. We go through PowerPoint presentations, career explorations. We even wrote a book. During COVID, we had a little, rec in our plans. So we ended up writing a workbook, which these kids could take home, and it has a periodic table of careers. I'm a huge science nerd, so I took my love for periodic and chemistry, and then I just kind of, each element is a career, and it has an average growth, average percentage, and an education needed for that specific career. And it's separated just how your elements are separated. They're separated by low, medium, and high level of careers. Let's see. So there's a huge value for this, not just for the student themselves, but value for the community. workforce. If we get these students much more aware of what life sciences has to offer them or what opportunities, higher education opportunities they have, they'll be a lot more alluded to go into these careers. So we have a larger workforce coming in and hopefully getting these jobs. Students are more aware of higher education opportunities. You know, I get middle schoolers here all the time and they don't realize what opportunities are here for them. They know that Texas Tech is here, but they don't really know what they offer. Or they think about UTEP and they don't think about all the opportunities. Or APCC or the tech schools, really giving them that opportunity to learn and become aware of that really enhances and expands their horizons. And the last one, which I think is probably one of the most important, is creating those opportunities for partnership. My program wouldn't succeed if I hadn't had partnerships from the rest of the schools or partnerships from higher education opportunities or for brands. So being able to create that partnership within our own region and our own community is really going to enhance our youth and our future generation. So these programs and this specific kit was created in part of the MCA through Nurse Innovator, and then Fab Lab Pilates, who printed our prototype and did amazing work. And I worked with them for a couple months now, and it's been an amazing thing. And that is it for my presentation. You all have any questions, comments, or concerns? And I think I saw a question on the chat.
Yes, somebody asked a question virtually, and you can repeat the question so that people virtually can hear.
Okay.
Are the manuals written out for easy reading, or are the manuals done with diagrams, or done both ways?
Okay, so are the manuals right now in easy kind of lingo and with pictures? So it's a little bit of both. We try to make it very, very simple. This is made for middle school students, so we didn't want to create too much crazy science in there, but there are diagrams. So let me go here. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there is like these just simple diagrams on how to connect the pieces, and then the rest of like kind of how to build it, the student has to kind of sketch it out. And it's hopefully a 1-week challenge that these kids will be given. So we're going to have 4 themes. This is just the structure one, but we're going to have like environmental science where they have to talk about natural disasters in the platform. There is a forest deforestation one that kind of talks about how to help plant more trees or do things like that. And then there is, there's one more that I'm blanking at the moment. Oh, a terrarium, that students have to grow their own ecosystem and help it maintain it. So it's all really great, but it is very simple lingo. Yes.
Being an excellent program, I want to commend you. There's such a huge need for that. It's been a good part of my life doing that outreach as an engineer too. And I'm to, pre-college students. I'm glad you're doing middle school right away. Question is, have you had professionals talk to the students, or will you plan to? Because what I've seen is that provides real life role models, so they can see, male, female, diversity.
Yes.
I'm working in this life science area, I'm working in this, and they can really hear from a professional what, why they got there, what they're doing.
Yeah, so actually prior to COVID, our camp was a little different. We did have Eric Pavia, our entrepreneur in residence, come and talk about innovation. We had our researchers upstairs talk to them about research and how it took to them to be in a lab or what it means to be in a lab. During our 1-week STEM camp that we hosted earlier this year, we had different people in the tech companies. So we hosted one that was computer science themed. So we had Microsoft come and present, and we had somebody from Canada who does digital engineering come and present. So now we're doing it a little bit more hands-on because we know that with COVID, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but we're hoping that next year, and making the program a little longer. This program is only 9 to 2. So it's a very small amount of hours that we have to work with these students. So we do want to make sure that we have enough time for everything that we do. But we're hoping to kind of expand it, create a much bigger program, more of the week camp that we saw that it was a huge success. So that is, yes, it is in the plans. Yes.
Or final.
Yes, Ms. Romo, great presentation. Thank you so much. I did have a couple of questions.
Yes.
The first one is whether you have coordinated with the school districts, because the existing curriculum is pretty tightly regulated by the state.
Yeah.
It would be, I think, a good idea to dovetail with the existing curriculum and make sure that it meets the regulatory requirements of the state.
So we have worked closely with some districts, not all of them. Specifically, I can tell you that we work with Socorro very closely. What we do is we kind of piggyback off the curriculum. So it's very personalized STEM camp. So if I have a class from Socorro ISD come and they say, you know what, we've really been talking about biology, and we really want to focus on that, I try to create experiments or kind of an agenda that will focus on that area. So for example, I did have a class maybe a couple weeks ago who was talking about genetics. And when they came, we did a strawberry DNA extraction experiment, and they get to learn more about that whole area. So yes, we kind of piggyback off of it, but we don't add or I guess enhance the curriculum. We just kind of learn more.
I know we're almost out of time, but one really important thing is a way to assess effectiveness.
Mhm.
In the higher education world, we call this assurance of learning.
Mhm.
So have you talked about or thought about ways to assess the effectiveness of your kids?
Yes. So the kids, not yet. We want to go ahead and prototype these next in the spring when we have all 4 of them during our spring week camps. But what we've done to kind of assess that area is the first time kids come here for the Wednesday STEM camp, we ask them, write all the careers you think are in healthcare or life sciences. Usually it's about the same. You have your doctors, your nurses, your surgeons. Then we go through the whole list, or at least we go through the whole day, and we ask them to add to their list. Usually there's about a 50% addition to that list. Actually, there was a bunch of careers written on these walls, but due to the event, I erased them. But we do see a huge amount of increase of just knowledge for these children. But we're hoping that once we add these and we have the prototyping and get them going with these kids, they'll be a lot more aware of what it actually takes to be in that specific career.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You're on the right path. And speaking of paths, that's what our students here locally need. They need someone to articulate a path for them, because they may not have anyone who's gone before them to help them understand how to get into higher ed. But middle school is a make-break point. That's when they're really starting to think about these things, and they have, like you said, a very limited concept of what they could be. So I really want to thank you for that. We're trying to work with the early college high schools in El Paso and beyond to help students get into those early college tracks where they can get some prerequisites done, and they can essentially graduate from high school and walk right into higher ed. They're walking into my nursing school at the ripe old age of 17.
Yeah.
So there's also a way to escalate their path. And so if you ever need help with that, we love to do what we're doing.
That would be awesome, just to be able to give them. Sometimes kids need a little hand holding.
Yes.
Specifically when it comes to life sciences, I think there's so many options and broad options that they're just not aware of. So just be able to have those opportunities for them to learn and become exposed to it would be awesome.
When you start walking that path with them in middle school, then you really got a chance to get them into school.
Exactly. So yeah, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Woods.
I'm a big proponent of experiential learning and education, which this is a great activity to help foster. It sounds like you're prototyping during the school year, but also remember that there are a lot of grants available that support and encourage summer activities, and being able to partner with some of these institutions around the city to be able to continue this type of activity outside of a standard curriculum, and that would help supplement some of the sort of curricular things and give you a little bit more flexibility with the rigid guidelines that exist already.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Any sort of support we can have with the program, I'm always a huge pioneer for that. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Next up, we have Lisa Shaw.
Hi, everybody. I'm Luis Ochoa. I'm not a nurse either. I'm a mechanical engineer, graduated from UTEP, but I'm very happy to be participating in this. So I'll be talking about the horizontal airblade novel disinfectant dryer. And the main problem we're trying to fix is the inefficiency of drying and disinfecting your hands when using a public bathroom. Right? That brings another problem, that it's the excessive usage of paper towels. And considering these paper towels cannot be recycled, that's a lot of waste that we're creating. And then it's also 95% more expensive to use paper towels than a hand dryer. So that brings another problem. When using hand dryers, it has been proven that they disperse germs throughout the rooms. And then all the water mess that is created, that brings other problems like contamination. And then even the HEPA filters are embedded into the system. They don't consider all the contamination, as you can see, that is created on the outside. So all those germs, all this contamination, it's been spread all over the place, right? And then another issue that we've seen, it's that it's not, some dryers are not suitable for kids or disabled people, because you need to position your hands vertically, right? So our solution, it's a device that will still use the airblade system that has been proven to dry your hands fast, but now using or positioning your hands horizontally. And it will have a receptacle to contain all the water spills inside the system, so you don't have them on the floor. And a disinfectant dispensing system to disinfect your hands once they're dry. All this disinfectant will also help clean or kill all the germs that are contained on the device, on the chamber. And it will guarantee that you dry your hands and disinfect them at the same time using one single device. Some of the features will be a status light that will let you know if it's on standby, or drying, or disinfecting. And it will also have two sensors depending on which cycle you want to use, either drying only or disinfecting. Because some people still not using disinfectant, so only drying will be one option for them. And then the container, the water drain, the container and the sanitizer will be accessible through the sides, but you can take care of that as well. And then the airplane will be coming from the side, the air, and the disinfectant will be coming from the top. So that helps clean the entire device. Then we believe now more than ever, it's a very good time for this device because of all the hands hygiene. It's crucial nowadays, right? And then green is a new black. So green alternatives are very, very good nowadays, right? And then the market growth, we've seen a lot of market growth for both the disinfectant dispensing systems, but also the dryers, and they are expected to continue growing in the following years. And then our target will be the hand dryer manufacturers. They already have the technology, and they know that know-how. So it will be a lot easier for them to implement these changes, these additions to their devices, instead of trying to come up with an entire new product. So our purpose it's to submit a provisional patent and then continue the process for a non-provisional so that we can then license or sell the IP to these big manufacturers. And then we will also be looking into creating a prototype, fully functional prototype. Of course, it will be hard to create a fully functional, but at least we'll have the overall dimensions right. And then the process, and if we need to do any changes to the device, we can do it at that moment. And that will be pretty much for me from now. I'm not sure if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Luis, good job. It's good to see you again. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to see you in this arena. I'm sure you're going to do well out here.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you've done any actual face-to-face customer discovery and talked to people potentially in the market for these things.
No, I have not. Just talking to a lot of people, not actual, no.
And I also wanted to understand something about the maintenance cycle of one of these devices. How often you have to do the water and replace the.
So I haven't thought about any of that, but I will have to do some research and look at the ones that they exist already and look at their maintenance schedule. Because it will be similar to that, but also we have to consider that we need to fill up the sanitizer and the water, remove the water and add sanitizer, right? So I think the first prototype will be for that, so that we can test and identify how it will work and all that.
I think a lengthy maintenance cycle is going to be something critical for something like this, something that can go unattended for a considerable amount of time. As well as some customer discovery among potential actual buyers. I know your target market are the manufacturers.
Yes.
But there needs to be a group of people out there who are going to want to buy this thing.
So at one point we were trying to go through schools first, and then look at that market. But then we saw, instead of creating the device itself, just go look for the big guys, so that they can buy the IP, so that we don't focus on the entire device.
Gotcha. Thank you, Luis. Good job.
Thank you.
I think having that some customer discovery will help you in talking to the larger manufacturers by showing that you've already found some of the solutions that customers are looking for, whether they knew they had the issue or not. And again, it sounds like you're not quite at this stage, but as you're planning some of the disinfection components, you want to think about what the type of disinfectant that would go in would be. So the EPA has a lot of information on disinfectants recently, particularly their list N group, which is easily searchable, but has thousands, if not tens of thousands of compounds and how quickly they act on different pathogens. So you'd want to try and review that, but many of them require a separate wash down afterwards.
Okay.
So as another consideration that might help with some of the maintenance is if there's a way to have sort of a UV type disinfectant, because that wouldn't require any refill or maintenance, and it's, unless you're standing right in front of the light for hours on end, a potentially safer alternative.
Okay, good to know.
I was thinking about the application in hospitals.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Luis, good to see a fellow UTEP engineer.
Yes,
Be successful. My question is, competitive analysis, how much, I didn't really get that, how much have you done? I mean, what's a competition out there? Or is there any?
well, there is, because you can find them separately, right? So you can go to the bathroom and still see a hand dryer and then a sanitizer next to it. But what I've seen a lot that some people, even myself, I'll just dry my hands and step out. I'll probably not do a second process if I don't have time or it's too far away. So I think there's the competition, it's both separately, that you see them all over the place, but this will be like one single unit that you do the same
How about the
process.
horizontal aspect?
Uh-huh.
Does that exist?
The horizontal, yes, the horizontal they
Okay,
exist,
I haven't
yes,
seen it. Okay, so they do have horizontal, but not necessarily with the disinfectant.
exactly. Yeah. Yes,
So a question from the chat. How long does it take to use a machine from hand cleaning to drying?
well, the Dyson, it's one of the big brands, and they are saying like it takes 10 to 12 seconds to dry your hands. So I would think it's between 12 and 15 seconds, because right after you dry them, 1 or 2 seconds to disinfect your hands will be enough. If it's like I'm not sure about the UV, right? So we'll have to look into that. Yes,
So the HEPA filter will be within the unit itself?
yes.
So there'll be a leg up from the Dyson.
Yeah. So I envision these like adding something to the Dyson itself, because those are the ones that use the air blade mechanism, right?
And then one consideration, if you consider a desiccant instead of a water container, absorbing the water.
No, but yeah, we
will be
yes.
more.
To absorb more.
Sanitizing.
Yeah.
It will create any smells.
It's true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have virtually Selena Padilla joining. Selena, if you want to share your screen.
Hi, good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. My name is Selena Padilla, and I am a registered nurse. I actually got my undergrad there from the University of Texas at El Paso, and I got my master's degree at Texas Tech. So I wish I could have been there with y'all. We'll go ahead and get started and go over Healthcare Hero Organizer, or H2O. So you may or may not be aware that after years of schooling, healthcare professionals actually still have to sit before a credentialing board to obtain a license to practice in their particular profession. They're then required to maintain any renewals of that license to practice and accompanying certifications or educational hours, which we call continuing education units, or CEUs. Failure to maintain that license, either by renewing it or meeting some of the renewal requirements, like a specified amount of CEU hours, can lead to fines, penalties, even revocation of those types of licenses. Some of the types of licenses or credentials are the nursing license. So our LVNs, RNs, advanced nurse practitioners, of course, physicians, maybe physician assistants, all require those types of licenses. And for the most part, all require at least 20 or more hours that typically are required to be completed at least every other year or every 2 years. Some examples of some of those accompanying types of certification that we're also required to maintain are CPR. That's one that most people have heard before. So the current state for us healthcare professionals to try to keep up with all of these requirements, a good amount of time our employers assist with oversight of this. Usually like the HR credentialing department will help keep them on file. We might get a reminder when they're coming up for renewal, but at the end of the day, ultimately, we are professionally responsible for maintaining all of this. So if you leave that job, it falls on you. A lot of times we resort to one or more types of record keeping. So maybe a USB or thumb drive, some paper records, maybe on a laptop or PC, a combination of all of that, right? So to try to make things a little easier, since we're all at this point pretty reliant on our mobile devices like our phones and tablets, the goal would be to get this app available in either iPhone or Android app stores so that they could access that on their phones and tablets when they're on the go. An example of what the app could potentially look like is if we had a registered nurse using the app, they would enter the state that they're currently licensed in. That would tie into the Board of Nursing website. And then they would enter the date that their license is coming up for renewal. It would interface with the device calendar so that they would get some preset pop-ups to remind them as they are approaching that renewal date. They would be able to select from the varying types of nursing roles. So whether they're registered nurse, LVNs, advanced practice nurse, and then they could also upload a copy of their certifications. When it comes to their educational hours, again, tying to what each state requires, it would start to deduct as those hours are completed. And as they approach that renewal timeframe, they would get a reminder and kind of a snapshot of where they're at in terms of completing the minimum amount of hours required upon that renewal date. They would also be able to upload copies of their certificates if they need it. There have been times where those credentialing boards require proof of the certificates of completion. Some additional features for consideration would be a health tracker, and of course, something lighthearted to help improve our mental health for our healthcare professionals. So memes or even maybe a discussion board to kind of serve as a forum for us to kind of share ideas or even just, develop conversation amongst our healthcare professionals. So this is also an example of what that health tracker could help keep oversight with for our healthcare professionals. So examples would be like a breast exam, cervical cancer screenings, menstrual tracking. In addition to that, a step tracker, water intake, Kegels. There's a lot of options that could be applied and considered. So when it comes to competitive advantages, again, it's a nice consolidated way to help keep track of all the different types of records that we have to try to maintain. It's easily accessible from the palm of your hand and low cost in terms of development. Our target market, just because of my own background and familiarity, I would like to start with nurses, but again, there's so many options and it could be expanded to just about anyone in the healthcare industry. Currently, the market size shows that we've got at least a little over 3 million nurses currently practicing in the United States. Over 500,000 of those nurses are practicing in what we call compact state licenses, allowing them to practice in 34 states within the United States. And over 200,000 of those nurses are practicing here in the state of Texas. So next steps would be to get with a UI UX designer and also work with an app developing firm to really take this to the next level. The examples I showed you obviously are very low fidelity in terms of prototyping. Again, my background is nursing. I've actually had personal experiences with struggling to maintain these records. Nursing and being a mom are kind of hand in hand. You never really get to clock out officially from either one of those, so things get hectic really quickly. But we would love to hopefully take this to the next level. The goal behind H2U is to allow us to take care of your records so you can take care of what really matters. Thank you.
You can, Selena is looking through you, through the camera. You can ask questions or.
Selena, this is Dr. Woods from Texas Tech. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I love your idea, and I just have a couple of questions. Have you thought about adding in professional memberships and reminders to renew memberships?
Yes. Yes, that and also potentially partnering up with CEU websites that offer that, partnering up with nursing schools, healthcare organizations, maybe even recruiters. So there are definitely different opportunities that lie out there.
And for some people who perhaps are faculty members, but they're also advanced practice nurses, being able to keep up with the number of clinical hours required for certification, or even nursing students who are wanting to keep up with their clinical hours could be helpful as well. So,
Yes, absolutely.
good idea.
Thank you.
Also think that this is great and has applicability across lots of different sectors beyond just healthcare, potentially with anybody else that is needing to keep track of credentialing hours and paperwork. I like that you're considering partnering with professional societies as a potential sort of supporter. And it sounds like you were doing this, but wanted to make sure that you were considering sort of selling of ads and other things to promote availability of conferences and places to get those CEs if you were deficient in a certain area as a potential revenue stream for this. I would caution just for myself about getting into too much of the health tracking stuff, that I feel like there's enough of that out there that you would be missing your primary target if you focus too much on it. And make sure that if you are developing an app, that it is also accessible or able to be used with a web interface. And you may do just as well with a standard website that has a good mobile interface and as a location where files could come from, that there's consideration for easy access to existing online storage systems like Google Drive and Box and Dropbox and those, so that somebody that already tries to store these in a certain location would be able to easily upload them.
Yeah, great feedback. Thank you.
Hi, Selena. This is Michael Garcia. I'm from the Michael A. Center at University of Texas at El Paso. Great presentation. I love your idea. I think a key element of something like this is the input. And the more that input can be automated, in other words, if you can link up with the providers of these CEUs and other records such that just the act of completing those things results in records being updated in your application, I think that would be a big selling point. A big challenge with things like this is it's another thing that somebody has to,
Maintain.
put things into. So the more that can be automated, I think the more valuable and more saleable something like this will be. That takes you to being able to link up with existing servers and services and databases and that sort of thing. I do think that would be a really important aspect of making something like this successful. It's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with that. Any other questions?
Great.
Thank you.
Now we're followed by Arnold. Yeah, I'm gonna share the screen and then.
Hi, good evening. My name is Arnold Savida. I'm a registered nurse working in the pediatric intensive care unit at Providence. Also a former respiratory therapist. So I'm the founder of the LEPSI seizure alarm. I made it thinking in the situations I see in the hospital where families tell me they wish they could have a certain alarm that let them sleep at night and they can be alerted if something's about to happen. When you have a child with epilepsy, one of the main stressors is that this could happen at any moment, and especially at nights. So I have families that don't sleep all night. they're worried. And that's what got me thinking. And researching the medical industry lacks these devices. They're very limited. Most of the devices alert till the seizure's already occurring. So I started thinking on how could we fill this void. And this was by creating a system that can detect vital sign changes before the event can occur. Most studies say that 20 minutes before the seizure starts, your temperature starts going up, your heart rate starts going up, your saturation starts decreasing. So that's where my system eliminates the competitors and at the same time prevents fatal outcomes from occurring. At this point, what we've been working on are the three things: the heart rate, temperature, and pulse oximeter. This will basically provide continuous monitoring connected to the child. It will alert the parents every 30 seconds if there's a vital sign change, and this can, alert the parent to go check on the child. At this point in time, we're developing a prototype which consists of a small computer. It's called a Raspberry Pi. It has a sensor connected to the child, and at the same time, it has a program that sends messages to the telephone. As a nurse, I've seen countless fatal events that have occurred. I really feel they could have been prevented. And I really want to make this product work. So I'm really working to make it happen. I am working with Fab Lab Juarez right now. They're helping me develop the system, which is pretty much a vest that connects to a Raspberry Pi. It's a small computer. The software that they helped me develop sends a message to the phone. And I mean, of course, you can see this all over the world, but more than anything, at night, you can just look at your phone and you'll know if your child's vital signs are stable or not. I have a small video of the system that's basically, I don't know how to volume, but basically that's this is the Raspberry Pi. It's connected to an Arduino, which is another controller. This is connected to the finger, which means your oxygen saturation. As soon as the system detects saturation lower than the limit that has been preset, it sends an email to, it's in Spanish because they're helping me in Juarez, but it detects low oxygenation. And this is just an email. The main goal is to make it with a text message, but we're working on that. But there's where he's explaining that the text message, the email got sent. But it's pretty simple right now, but I mean, I really hope we can do a real thing that can be produced and sold. There's things out there, but they're very limited. One just measures your temperature, but doesn't measure your pulse ox or your heart rate. The other ones measure oxygen, but don't measure it's not complete, and I want to complete it. And as well, this item can work for not just seizures, it can work for COVID, it can work for, just children that are sick and you want to keep them on top of their Tylenol ibuprofen. But that's it. Thank you for listening. Yes, sir.
What is you mentioned it's 30 minutes, you can give a 30-minute heads up if there's potentially seizure. The existing solutions, how much of a heads up do you give the parents if the kids are?
Pretty much zero, because the ones that exist are mats that go into the mattress. So they don't alarm until they're having the actual atomic clonic seizure. So by that time, it's kind of, I mean, you can still go help the seizure, but you're not that alert because it's seconds. So really the competition has no.
And what is the 20 minutes allow the parents to do?
They'll start seeing a temperature go up or the heart rate, usually the EKG or the heart rate starts increasing. And that kind of alerts the parent to go at least check on the child to see. It might not be anything. I mean, it might not be.
If you are having a seizure, like what can parents do to help reduce?
Oh, protect the airway, put them to the side. You can't really do much, but
All EMS.
Emergency services, I did have a patient pass away, and basically he was face down, vomited, aspirated, and didn't make it. And that's what you can do, just protect their way when they get help. Yes, sir.
You know, I have, I'm sad to say that I have very intimate experience with this particular situation. My first wife had epilepsy. She passed away. She was 40 years old. Exactly this situation.
Correct.
Even though I was nearby, I had no way of knowing that this was happening. So I'm certainly glad that you are attempting to address this issue. I think it's really important. I did have a couple of questions. One is about we call the false positive rate.
Right.
The reason being that if something gives erroneous indications too much, people will stop paying attention to.
Correct.
So can you say something about that?
I mean, that I thought about that. We would have to test it. I mean, even in the hospital monitors, we get alerted and they're false. But I think it's better to go check than not check. I wouldn't know like a good percentage, but I think it's not that bad. The technology has gotten so great nowadays that these sensors, even the pulse oxes, know the difference between movement and if it falls off, it detects. So the technology can help to prevent those false positives.
And if we're targeting children in particular, so comfort, wearability, and that sort of thing is really important. You know, kids move around and that sort of thing. You have wires and stuff like that. So you tell me a little bit about that comfort,
Yeah.
wearability.
That we created we're trying to do a vest that can basically it doesn't fall off like when most people use a finger, it usually falls off. This is a vest that will hold the sensors in place, especially because children move a lot. But at the same time, it'll be like a smooth material, flexible, where they're comfortable, no choking hazards or nothing like that.
All contained in the vest. Though.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Right here, the sensor would be in the middle, and then it won't let them, it'll hold it in place, get a good reading, and no choking hazard or nothing like that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So this would be considered telemedicine. Patients at home. Have you considered or have you looked into the reimbursement rates on these certain vital signs?
Well, the vital signs will be read by the parents or the family member. That's in the like not really to transmit to the doctor. So it's basically just buying equipment at one-time fee and having Wi-Fi at the house to transmit the signal from the computer to the but just to, like, I'm not sure how much the system. I'm thinking around $200-300. But one-time fee.
I would, recommend you looking into the reimbursement rates. Say you do sell it to a company that does charge on a daily basis, monitoring the blood pressure, pulse ox. So it might be another
idea. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. I know what you're talking about, but yeah, it would be a good idea to get reimbursed through that.
Telemedicine has developed so fast during COVID that you might be able to gain some reimbursement rates with certain vital signs for detecting.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted you to mention, since we had been speaking about your prototype before, that the vest, you wanted it to be sweat and water resistant. And then you had also told me that the parameters were going to be adjusted for the child's age.
Correct.
And I'm seeing your idea. It actually reminds me a lot about the exercising monitor that tracks also your vital signs while you're doing like cardio or
Right.
weightlifting. So
It's very similar, Just, alerting the parents. Definitely, it has to be waterproof because people sweat. But yes.
and I was just going to remind us about we treat the patient, not the machine.
Right.
So because you get alerted, you go and check on your patient. So again, that time that you have can be life-saving.
Correct.
Instead of sleeping through the night and not having any type of alert.
Right. And then also, and then other people have told me, I think this can work on adults as well. I think seizures have happened because as you grow, your seizure medications has to be adjusted, and sometimes they're not adjusted. So that's where seizures can occur. So, I mean, this can work for anyone. Yes.
Now, I have not worked on an epilepsy monitoring unit, but I'm wondering if there's a way to have some analysis done of the child to see what their predictors look like. What is the best, programmable, prior to the seizure, what do they look like, to create sort of a profile that would maybe reduce some of the false positives and so in on what that child typically does prior to a seizure. But I'm really impressed with your work, because this is something that just worries parents to death. It also, I think, could have an application. Some epilepsy patients are told not to drive, but this might be a way to allow a person an early warning, so that if they were driving, they could exit safely and have,
Excellent.
and maybe pave a way for them to be able to drive.
That's it. And then they also look like, how they have their dogs also like there's different types of seizures. Some do that, some don't, but that's a beautiful idea. Thank you.
So it was touched on a little bit of the concern for alarm fatigue and calibrating to the individual, and other things like temperature variations are going to change throughout the night. So that could be a concern of a reliable marker. Have you actually looked into true EEG signals as a potential predictor? Because it sounds like that's what was actually used as another wearable. Would a hat, a beanie, a headband. There's a few companies that create home EEG type, or at least small scale EEG equipment. So BIS monitoring or ICUs that helps to measure level of sedation in intubated patients, and then a separate company called BrainScope that has actually created a small scale EEG monitor, but that the same type of signaling technology paired with a potentially different physiologic marker may help you as well.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of the one you're talking about. See how sedated they are and how not. That's a good one. EEG, I don't know how hard that would be, but I'm sure.
The big issue, I think, is the quality of the signal. But if there was an additional focus on designing a headband or something that
some type of helmet that blocks the signal, because I know, like, even when we have the patients with EEG, even if we pass in front of them, we can see the waveform. That's why you have to be real quiet. But I don't know, maybe there could be some type of helmet that protects that artifact from happening.
There's a company out of Las Cruces that is doing home monitoring for elderly patients or patients that need assisted care. And they've developed a whole system of video monitors that will actually pick up certain movements and patterns. And again, it would be only once some type of movement starting to occur, but that same type of technology might be able to be used as an adjunct.
Even thermal, you can measure the measure.
And that was part of what they already have done something with. So they might be interested in expanding their range of monitoring capabilities. And they're already reportedly HIPAA compliant. So
I really think that adding the video piece is really super important, because every patient will have some nuanced difference in them, how they present. And that could be a really great way. Does the movement begin in one extremity, or where does their seizure begin? Where you can pick it up, and that could be one of the most specific things that you can.
Yeah, the neurologist is the first thing they ask us. Can you describe the movement?
Exactly.
And I guess that leads them to a diagnosis.
Next up, we have Connie DeVick, who is presenting for the Pine Group. Connie, would you like to share your screen?
Yes, I'll get it up and going here. Okay, can everybody see that? Yes. So I want to say welcome tonight. I was actually planning on being there in person, but I've had a family situation that I had to come home to my home state. So I would like to say welcome. So my name is Connie DeBleek, and I'm presenting on behalf of my team. We are a team of nurse educators that we've come from 4 diverse higher educational institutions. Collectively, we have decades of nursing and teaching experience, and our specialty areas include both public health nursing and nursing informatics. The challenges that we face there as a noticeable gap in educational products available to nurse educators and that provide teaching tools that bridge content from public health nursing and nursing informatics curricula. And this is a problem because using informatics has become an essential skill in providing high quality care to our patient care. In fact, many of our healthcare decisions made on a day-to-day basis can improve or enhance the use of nursing informatics. As a solution, we have developed an innovative product that bridges public health nursing with informatic content, and we call them e-learning modules. And we term these as interactive case studies. Interactive case studies provide the students the opportunity to bridge public health nursing concepts with informatic components. And the key features that we replicate is a real-time discussion between the nurse and the patient. Furthermore, there are several icons on the screen that the student can click to learn more about certain subjects that is relevant to a diagnosis is made by their patient. Students learn through the e-modules with features that can apply public health nursing principles with informatic content. In order to provide students with additional information and the patient perspective, we designed the use of the radio buttons that you see here to include self-guided questions embedded in this scenario. Also, students are provided the opportunity to document their findings in standardized format in an EHR, electronic health record, in order to demonstrate the advantages of use of an EHR. Students are expected to make clinical decisions about their clients' needs and priorities, which action they will take during the course of the e-learning module. If they take the wrong action or if they're unable to identify the most important action to take, they are provided with immediate feedback. This is the link we have, but we decided, I'm just going to go ahead and go with this link, but we were going to run through some of this a little quicker. This is the front slide of one of our demos. We give co-contributors a peer review that did. Here's our objectives, and I'm running through this kind of fast, quickly, because we wanted to get to where we show the radio buttons. This is one area where the students can click over, and it talks about the signs and symptoms of the diabetes. This one here, students can click over, and it talks about the complications, and they can click it, and it provides a further definition of what that particular issue is. We provide statistic data, risk factors. This one here, the students were asked a particular question and then they could answer it. Once they answer it, they hit submit. It will tell them if it's incorrect or correct. Then the students are able to go into the client's signs and symptoms and history. I know I'm clicking it for reasons for times, but this one here we wanted to bring out and showcase to you. This is the students are asking.
I take Lopersor for my high blood pressure. I take Zocor to help get my cholesterol level down. I take metformin for my blood sugar levels, and I take insulin glargine for my blood sugar levels.
Do you have any side effects from your medication?
Side effects? I don't know what you mean. I really don't want to take the shots. Could you make it so I don't have to poke myself all the time?
I see you have only one dose of insulin glargine left, and you are out of Lopersor. Are you able to get your medication filled?
No, I spent the last of my money this month on this cute toy for my cat. She had a rough month and I thought it would cheer her up.
And so on each of the radio buttons, the students would click and it would talk more history about it. But the way this program is set up, and I'm not going to be able to go forward, is if we go through all these radio buttons for the sake of time, and eventually when they've done asking all these questions and you see in these radio buttons, then it'll move them into a place where they can document their findings that they found with the client. So we built this infrastructure. We were wanting to build this infrastructure utilizing, oops, my computer fell over, sorry. We built this infrastructure utilizing a wanting a 501c3, and we want to use a premier model. And we wanted to make our marketing strategies entail getting finances through membership and products like this available to the nurses. We have actually got public health nurse scholars who complete a peer review of each one of our case studies that we've completed. We've secured an instructional designer that will help us with our product. In addition, we want to store our e-learning modules in a virtual library on a website so that they're easily accessed and linked to a learning management system. And we are working towards making sure that this is a quality assurance process. E-learning modules bridge the gap between public health nursing material and informatics information in a simple but effective manner. It integrates the modules into a new curricular course and poses little effort. And there are no pricey interfaces or upgrades required to use this product, but our product fills a need in the market, and we believe this is an ideal time to launch. And this is our team members, which is Deborah Early, Belinda Garner, and Kelly Cromweedy, and myself, Connie DeBleek. And if you have any questions, we would like to answer those questions. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean for my computer to fall over, but it did. So, and the team and I and myself will answer the questions that you have.
This looks like a great opportunity to provide education for a variety of topics and to a great number of individuals. I can tell there's a lot of detail that went into the design. There are a lot of different companies working in this realm, not necessarily in this exact role. Have you considered what those other groups are, or how you're going to try and help differentiate yourself from other e-learning tools in this realm?
We've talked about this extensively. Yeah, we've considered about the other groups. What makes us unique and different is, as you said, is the public health informatics and teaching the public health nursing. There is a plethora of information there that is related to acute care and to informatics in that realm, but there is not enough there. Now, talking to different companies and manufacturers that do this stuff, no, we haven't done any great extent.
Well, through my literature review and research, there was discovered a nurse faculty who did publish e-learning modules, but they are strictly focused on just teaching the role of nursing. There's no inclusion of how to chart in the electronic health record or more that relates to informatics. So it's very mono-focused. We wanted to open up an opportunity and market to teach the combination of both public health nursing, case scenarios and such, and how to chart in an electronic health record based on the case scenario.
When I was listening to your presentation, one of the things that I thought of was that this is also basically a fantastic script for some of the existing simulation that we have, and that you've almost got a dual purpose. You could use your e-learning modules as you've got them, but you could also possibly sell this IP to some of the simulation companies, some existing scripting that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Never
Yeah.
thought of that.
No.
Thank you.
Hi, Connie.
Hey.
This is Michael Garcia from UTEP. Great presentation, very interesting. My son is a nurse, and so I'm familiar with a lot of these things. My daughter-in-law is also a nurse, so I hear a lot of talk about these things. I'm back to in the higher education world, the fact that there are lots of existing curriculum, and the ability to make these kinds of things adaptable and flexible such that elements or components can be added, deleted, modified somewhat by the user, I think is really important. The other thing is I wasn't sure about how much input the student was going to have. In other words, the ability to respond to these questions, and then the possibility of reporting, monitoring and storing and reporting on that after a module.
Deb, do you want to answer that? Do you want me to answer that?
Well, I will. And that's a great question.
A wonderful question.
Within the interactive case studies, there are questions students have to answer, and they have to reach 80% content mastery before they can complete the case study. After they are done with reaching 80% content mastery, they have to then take a post-test. So that is how we assess their learning and their level of content mastery. And we've also provided students the opportunity to give feedback. We have piloted this with a previous version of our interactive case study focusing on latent tuberculosis, bacterial infection, and directly observed therapy with great success.
Very, very good. That answered my other question I was going to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
So last but not least, Danielromo, joining from Ciudad Juarez, is our last presenter. Adrian, would you like to share your screen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian Ramos. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna show you a redesign for the needle holder. I have been working in the gynecologist hospital for a little more of 7 years in the surgical area, and I saw a few problems with the instrumental. What is these problems? I'm gonna focus on the needle holder because it's the more use of the instrumental in the surgical equipment. So we see these problems, the loss of the shape or original shape, as you can see here in the picture, and the wear of the ratchet. As you can see here, the ratchet is not close anymore. And these things leads to an increase of the surgical time because you need to replacement during the surgery and increase the cost for replacement. Why is this problem? What is the origin of this problem? We need to know that we have two forms to use the instrumental. The normal way, I show you here with the letter A. And you introduce your fingers on the rings and you manipulate the needle holder. This is another form, the root form, the form B. In this form, you never introduce your fingers on the rings, as you can see here. This is important because in a surgical emergency, we use the form B to be more fastest, to be more, how to say, increase the precision when you're suture. And this form reduce the surgery time and increase the angle for suturing because when you introduce your fingers with the form A, you reduce your angle for working. And when you hold the needle holder for out of the rings, you increase the angle for working. So this is very benefit for the patient, but it's very harmful for the needle holder because you damage the ratchet. And why is this? Because you need to put in the thumb to force the open of the ratchet, and that leads to the loss of the shape of the needle holder. What is the solution for this problem? Well, we have to make two ways to make it happen. One is the redesign of the shade for the needle holder to be compatible with the Form B. And the another is redesign the ratchet with the feedback. With this feedback, you don't need to force the open, and with this, you know gonna lose the shape because the ratchet is with feedback. The feedback, we're gonna have 3 levels as here, 1, 2, and 3. The first 2 is gonna be to close the needle holder, is to hold the needle. And when you reach to the 3rd level, it's gonna be open automatically. It's important that the new shape is of the needle holder will be adaptable to the emergency for the surgery emergency, the Form B, as we see previously. What is the benefits of this? Well, you're gonna reduce the damage for the needle holder. You're gonna reduce the surgical time at the emergencies, and you're gonna increase the speed and the precision when you are working in the with the surgical emergencies, and increase the angle for suturing because it's gonna be compatible with the Form B of to use the needle holder. And we're gonna reduce the cost for replacement because this is we want to make this needle holder to be more stronger for be used for more time. I don't know how to say. Any questions?
Driver closed, the first click will hold the needle in place and secure it so that you could manipulate it without your fingers in. And then actually, as you push harder, 2 more clicks and it will actually reopen because it is slid past. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can show you. I have here, this is the mechanism. Is the ratchet. As you can see here, we want to put 1, 2, and the 3 is to open the needle holder.
So I think that is a fantastic design for a couple of reasons. I've been teaching the medical students at Texas Tech how to do suturing for the last 7 years, and there are at least 700 graduates now that have been taught the rude mechanism for operation because it does allow better manipulation. In addition to decreasing the wear, another big benefit that I see to this is I encounter left-handed students, and the solution to them, because of the design for the equipment, is for them to simply learn how to suture right-handed until they become a famous surgeon and can then order their own equipment. And really, unfortunately, that is the design. And this looks like it would allow an ambidextrous approach. And that, I think, would be a major consideration for its continued adoption.
Okay, so just to translate a bit for Adrian, lo que dice Dr. Crawford es que él ha enseñado durante 7 años a estudiantes de enfermería. Una de las razones por las que encuentro esta idea fascinante, increíble, es para estudiantes zurdos que en vez de aprender a utilizar las pinzas con su mano izquierda, aprenden a suturar con la mano derecha hasta que son lo suficientemente buenos como para ordenar sus propias herramientas.
Y una de las posibilidades por esto es para practicar con los estudiantes con el otro mano y checar si puede usar con mano derecha o izquierda.
Okay. I have been talking with a left handler. I don't know how to say, and he told me some feedback. Algunos consejos me dio a una persona zurda también.
Hello, Adrian. This is Michael Garcia from UTEP. Great presentation, a fascinating device, a little bit out of my my bailiwick here, but I do have one question. If part of the motivation is for increased durability, what percentage increase in durability or unit lifetime would you be expecting? How much longer would one of these last than the one you're trying to replace?
Oh, it's a hard question. We have too long way to introduce this needle holder. This is designed to be first a needle holder for gynecologists because we use in the delivery. I wanna work in with my hospital. It's a gynecologist hospital. We're gonna see more in the future that I can. I don't have the response right now.
Understand.
It's little, little, poco a poco. No sé cómo decir.
I understand. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions? No? Then. Thank you, Adrian. With this, we conclude the presentations. Nan's gonna do the closing for this session.
All right, thank you everyone for showing up in person and for showing up virtually. We are really proud of our innovators for this program. It was a pilot program. Almost everyone came with just an idea in their head with nothing else. We had a few like Adrian who had been working for a while. And so this is, as Alberto mentioned, this project was funded by the Workers Lab out of the Bay Area. And the Workers Lab mission, or one of their missions, is to provide opportunities for workers, all kinds of workers, to advance their power in the workplace. And so we proposed to them to take nurses who traditionally are innovative in their careers and other healthcare professionals, and to allow them other options besides to express that innovation by taking the things that they design every day to make life better for their patients, for themselves. And Ernesto Holguin, who is one of our nurse innovators, who's an inspiration for this, and to work with them to give them opportunities to innovate and to have other career paths if they should so choose. And so the Workers Lab funded this, and we had put a lot of money in the budget for in-person. This was to be an in-person bi-national program, and it ended up that we got funded and COVID hit and everything went virtual. And so the program turned totally virtual, which is why 3 of our nurses are from, or 2 are from Minnesota, 1 is from Missouri, 1 is from New Mexico, 1 is from Cedar Park, Texas. Adrian is from Ciudad Juarez. And so we were able to have a wider scope of nurses. But because we had that leftover funding, there are no prizes, but every nurse who participated in the program is going to get a $750 stipend check for their time. Every single one of these people works full-time, either as a nurse educator, a nurse practitioner, or as a product, a workforce coordinator, a product manager, owns their own company. We're super proud. So, having said that, this is the pilot. We are going to do another one in the spring. Tell people about it, get them excited. Adrian has passed his boards. He's a doctor now. He was a nurse. He's now a doctor. Nurses, doctors, techs, anyone who wants to participate. Information is online. We have cards out at the sign-in table. If you didn't sign in, can you just sign in so we have a record of who's here? And there's drinks right outside the door. And there's food in the co-work space. Please stick around if you can. I know other people have appointments, but try to stick around if you can. We'd love to see you mingle and meet each other. And thank you once again to our esteemed panel of commenters. Dr. Stephanie Woods, Dean of Nursing, Texas Tech Nursing School, Dr. Scott Crawford, Director of the SIM Center and a emergency medical doctor, and Dr. Michael Garcia, who runs the Loya Center for Innovation and Commerce at the, I probably said that wrong. I always get that.
Close enough, Mary.
Okay. And at the University of Texas El Paso. Thank you.
All right.